Criminal court, day 3. So, day 3 was, we knew going in today that we would end early, 1:30. However, you just never know how the day will go. So, this morning was led off by the prosecutor was still calling witnesses. At this point, we're still calling expert witnesses. And to start off, there was a detective who had been sworn in multiple, I think, offices, if you will, in the county in which, ironically, I reside. Also, this individual was sworn in, or has been sworn in, by the Secret Service. So it was pretty big deal. This testimony went on much of the morning, and this person is an expert in essentially cell phone data, how you extract it, how you, it's more so about the location of the phone, and that was his area of expertise, explaining how you read cell phones, how they hit the towers, how the towers work, how the towers overlap, how you use the tower to understand the location of the device, because it's not exact, but it's close. Basically, what, and then how that data is used. So this went on for a few hours, and then the cross-examination came. And I gotta say, this case, of course, innocent proven guilty, absolutely. And there hasn't been that, the prosecution is moving closer and closer. Like, you can just feel the evidence and the proof is just making like the doubt shrink and shrink and shrink. And but I still haven't, at this point in time, made my judgment. I'm waiting for everything. To me, in my mind, he's still innocent. However, the arguments coming in and the facts and the subject matter experts are just pulling it together. They're leading us down a good path. So this went on, and then the defense attorney did a really good job trying to look for discrepancies in how he was, in what he was saying, and also looking for, I guess doubt, just trying to catch. So if the person on the stand, in this case, this detective, was answering I don't know to questions, or if the question was, so you're not 100% sure if this person was at this exact location based on this data. And he said, yes, I am not 100% exact. And then also, for example, what I thought was a nice gotcha moment, and again, this is what I'm saying, is not saying how I'm gonna vote, if you will, but so they're basically trying to prove the alleged suspect, or the person who's on trial here, was in a certain place at a certain time based on cell phone data. So the prosecution was trying to establish all of that, and then the defense was trying to add, well, how do you really know? It's not an exact, like, they're not exactly located based on that. So the next question was by the defense attorney, which I thought was really good, was, okay, so that's fine, but can you prove that he was the one using the phone? And he said, no, I'm not. I just can tell you where the devices are. And she said something like, you mean you can estimate where the devices are, and you can't prove who was actually using the phone? So it's possible someone else was using his phone. Yes, it's possible. No more questions. So it's just like you see on TV, except there's a less theater to it, but really, really good. And then where it went next was they brought in a crime lab supervisor from the state police, who has 20 years of experience of processing DNA, I guess you could say, or taking the samples And that was yesterday, talking about how they collect samples with the swabs and all that. So the first expert in this area came up and just talked about processing clothing in this situation. And basically what they look for is like Y for male, kind of, they're looking for all types of DNA. And in this case, they found evidence of Y. But the defense attorney said, but so what is it? And they said, well, we can't tell it. We don't know exactly what it is without further analysis. We can just tell you that there was male DNA there, not what type, whether it's semen, saliva, sweat, or whatever, skin cells. We don't know. Okay, thank you. So again, this is like this kind of chess match going on, which is very interesting. I'm also not making light of it. This is very serious, and it's also taking an emotional toll, I think, on all of us jurors, because this is a very serious case. And then the last person who came for the day was someone, it was a lab specialist, like lab specialist 2 or something, lab tech 2 or something like that, who has experience actually analyzing the data, and just said, yes, this is male data based on the data, and it belongs to the basically the person who's accused of the crime. Yes. And they said, well, how did you collect the data, or how did you collect the sample? Well, I didn't. Well, how did the sample come to you then? It didn't come to me. So you never actually touched it? No. Did you wear gloves? Well, I just look at data. I don't actually touch this. So it's just a lot of this, like, do your colleagues wear gloves when they handle samples? Yes. So it was a lot of this, but what I'm saying is, you can probably tell them the way this conversation is going is like they're getting closer and closer. And I feel, I don't know how many more witnesses there's going to be on the prosecution side, let alone witnesses on the defense side. I would think on the defense side, at least character witnesses or something, or eyewitness. I don't know, but so it was nice to be done at 1:30 today, because I think there was a lot of mental fatigue, and I don't think that's why the judge let us go at 1:30 today, because he said yesterday that's what the schedule was. So in my mind, get back home. I need to get back home. I had to run, pick up something, get back home, and jump on work. But so I'm learning a lot. I've learned more about cell phone towers. I learned that cell towers are different than what do they call them? Basically, there's a word that people mostly just consider a cell tower, but no, there's multiple meanings to that. Is it cell tower, cell site? I think it is cell site. And then just how they overlap, and then how the phones like don't drop calls because of the overlap, and that cell signals, which is just kind of obvious. It's not like it runs into a wall and drops off. Like it just kind of phases out. There's like a buffer zone in a way. I think they call it like a bleed over. But I gotta say, the people, the experts who were witnesses, like, look, they have day jobs and they're subpoenaed to come on the stand, and they have to give their testimony and then subject themselves to cross-examination, which the defense attorney seems very likable person. Like she hasn't like, aha, you said this, and when this really happened. There was a few moments she was going down that path. I think there was only one time when she like actually hit the table, when she's like, but you said, before, but it wasn't even in a nasty tone or anything. So far it hasn't been hostile. And I'm also, again, very fascinated by the inner workings of the courtroom, because I am a Law and Order junkie, and it's so great to be there. Of course, the number one part is to do your part as a U.S. citizen, which that's the first and foremost important thing, and the most honorable thing I feel like I could do. But secondly, because I really enjoy watching this stuff on TV, and I tend to gravitate towards the shows that seem in the courtroom that seem more real than the ones that are more, for TV, I guess you could say. So when they refer to stuff on TV and you're there, you're like, whoa, there's a lot more that goes in behind the scenes than what they tell you on TV, because TV courtrooms, you typically have an hour, and the whole show, the whole episode's not even in the courtroom. It's usually they're solving a crime, and so this is many days in a courtroom. So you see a lot of this stuff go on, how they handle the evidence, how they talk to the judge, the sidebars, the objections, the sustained, overrule, it's just asking permission to approach those types of things. And there's not a lot of, I guess, visitors in the courtroom. I don't know, audience, I guess you could say. I did notice a guy wearing a hoodie, and I was like, that's kind of weird. He's just sitting there. Then when he got up, his hoodie kind of lifted up along the belt, and I saw his badge. So I thought, oh, he's a plainclothes cop, or whatever, undercover, not undercover to being there, but he just popped in. And there seemed to be, on the defense side, there's this man who just sits there, doesn't say anything. He's a couple rows back, well dressed, and he's just basically staring at the witness stand the whole time. And occasionally the defense attorney will just say, excuse me one moment, and walk over to him, whisper something to him, and then he'll say something, and she'll come back and then ask her next question. I noticed after the technical stuff, I noticed when the technical stuff started the other day, he was there, and I didn't think anything of it at the time, but I noticed when it ended this morning, after it wrapped up late morning, he left. And then when it shifted to the lab stuff, that's when that is when he left, and they just went on. Sorry, I was just having a brain freeze there for a moment. Again, this is a lot to unpack every evening when I come home. I talked about in the previous videos that talking to you guys now has helped me process it a little bit, because the first night I came home, I was just I don't think I did anything. I went for a walk, I believe. I went for like a mile walk, which I usually kind of do anyway in the evenings, go for a walk, but definitely went for a walk. Yesterday I talked to you guys twice. I filled you in on day 1, and then I did a second video on day 2. Today's day 3. Tomorrow's day 4. And the last part of this is, the judge said we initially could go into next week. Well, as of this recording, Monday is Labor Day. So that means we would go in on Tuesday. And as of right now, and you just don't know, right? Nobody knows. Even the court officer who's done, all the court officers, much respect, but the court officer who's kind of in charge of getting us out of the jury room, and I really like this guy. He has such command of the courtroom and the process, and he's also personable. He doesn't take his job so seriously that he's a jerk. And he mentioned to us, he goes, I don't know how long this will go at this point in time. He goes, I actually find out when you guys find out. So he doesn't know, which is interesting. And I guess it makes sense. It just makes sense how the flow of everything goes. We won't know about Tuesday of next week until we finish Friday, which is tomorrow. And tomorrow is expected to be a full day, which is bummer because it's going into a 3-day weekend. I kind of wish tomorrow was the 1:30 day. However, I'm happy to take it right now because I'm mentally beat up and I'm a little tired. So that's what's going on. And I know I've still kind of been a bit vague about what this all is all about. And this recording won't see the light of day until this case is done. But I just still feel funny talking about it. So when we reach a verdict and I do the video after that day, I will spend a little extra time going back through the few days, talking about what this case was about, and how it was, because we're kind of talking right now, I'm kind of explaining how it's being built up in just high level terms, in terms of establishing experts and establishing credibility, etc., etc. All right, well, that is it for day 3. That is it for me. It's probably it for videos for today. This is my my third video today. I'm tired. I gotta log into work and then hopefully coast into the evening, knock on wood. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and if you just stumbled upon this channel just based on this video, there's 2 other parts to this, or this series of videos, and you're into this, because this channel is basically into vintage fans, vintage lawnmowers, just projects around the house, some vlogs, and then but there's also a bunch of videos on just book reviews, just kind of business related topics. So I hope you stick with us if you see this video, and see you soon. Stay tuned for part 4.